A woman steps out of a building with her keys already in hand. She doesn't check her phone. She doesn't hesitate. That matters because it means she thinks she's safe. And in less than a minute, she stops being safe forever. Her name is Naomi Kerr, 36, a home care coordinator, someone who schedules nurses, checks in on patients, makes sure vulnerable people don't fall through cracks. Naomi is not famous, not wealthy, not reckless. She is the kind of person who does her job, goes home, and doesn't expect the world to be waiting for her in the dark. But on the night this video is recorded, she is carrying something most people would never notice: a slim folder, a plain envelope, a few sheets of paper. And those papers are the reason someone has been tracking her routine. Let's break down what the camera captures. At 7:18 p.m., Naomi exits the side door of a medical office building. She shifts the envelope from her left hand to her right. She walks toward the parking lot, same path she takes almost every night. At 7:18 and 26 seconds, a second figure appears at the edge of frame. Hood up, hands low, head down. Not sprinting, because sprinting draws attention, just moving with purpose. At 7:18 and 26 seconds, Naomi angles slightly left. That's the moment she becomes visible to a second camera positioned over the lot. Now watch what happens next, because this is the detail investigators later call the tell. Naomi stops walking for half a second. She doesn't turn fully, she doesn't scream, she simply pauses, like she hears a voice that makes her brain run through a rapid calculation. Do I know this person? Should I respond? Is this safe? Then she continues walking. At 7:18 and 41 seconds, the figure closes the distance, and at 7:19 p.m., the last second of the clip, Naomi disappears behind a parked SUV. The camera never captures her again. 47 seconds. That's all the public sees, but it's enough to tell you something important. This was not random. At first, the police treat it like what it looks like, a missing adult. They call hospitals, check jails, ping her phone. They question coworkers who say the same thing. Naomi left at the usual time. Naomi didn't mention any fear. Naomi was normal. But the next morning, they find Naomi's car still in the lot. No shattered glass, no blood, no obvious struggle. The driver's seat is pushed back the way Naomi likes it. Her water bottle is in the cup holder. But her phone is gone. And her envelope? Gone too. That's when the case changes from missing person to something else: targeted disappearance. Here's what matters about Naomi's job. She coordinates care, meaning she sees the paperwork nobody else wants to deal with: insurance forms, authorizations, family disputes, guardianship issues. And Naomi has been assigned to one case for almost 3 years: an elderly man named Harold Vance. Harold is in his 80s, limited mobility. A man who has money, property, investments, and a family that is technically present but functionally absent. According to the people around Harold, neighbors, visiting nurses, building staff, Harold's family shows up in bursts: when bills are due, when paperwork needs a signature, when someone needs to check in. Then they vanish again. But Naomi doesn't vanish. Naomi is there, consistent, the person Harold calls when he's confused, scared, or suspicious. And recently, Harold had been suspicious a lot. A month before Naomi disappears, Harold makes a decision. He begins changing who controls things, who has access, who speaks for him, who benefits when he's gone. He asks Naomi for help, not financial advice, not legal advice, but help finding the right people: a lawyer, a notary, witnesses. And Naomi, trying to do her job properly, follows procedure. She documents everything. She creates a paper trail. She schedules the meeting. She ensures everything is witnessed. That envelope Naomi carries in the CCTV footage, it contains copies of updated documents, the kind of documents that quietly reroute money. And if you want to understand motive, you only need one sentence. Some people will do anything to keep money from changing hands. Detectives interview Harold Vance. He's alive at this stage, shaken, furious, guilty. He tells them Naomi was the only person who consistently made sure he was okay. He says his family resented her. He says they accused her of manipulation. Then he says something else. He says Naomi told him days earlier that she felt watched, not in a paranoid way, in the "I'm noticing the same car twice" way, in the "someone asked me questions they shouldn't know to ask" way. And Harold admits he didn't push hard enough to make her take it seriously, because most people don't believe danger is real until it becomes unavoidable. Police can't arrest someone based on a feeling. They need a pattern they can prove. So they begin where modern investigations often begin: phones, money, movement. They subpoena Naomi's phone provider. Her last pings show her leaving the building, then nothing. Phone shut off or destroyed. They subpoena financial records connected to Harold Vance, and they find something odd: a series of cash withdrawals, structured, spaced, deliberate. Not one big withdrawal, several smaller ones. Then they pull license plate readers on roads near the medical building. They look for vehicles that pass the same points at the same times Naomi does. And one vehicle appears too often to be a coincidence: a plain, forgettable sedan registered to someone with no direct link to Naomi. But no direct link doesn't mean no link. It means the link is being hidden. This is the part of cases like this that people don't like to admit. Sometimes the person with the motive doesn't do the dirty work. They outsource it. Investigators dig into the sedan's owner. They find previous arrests, assault, intimidation, collections, the kind of record that suggests a person who solves problems with pressure. Then they find a second number that keeps appearing near that phone, a burner. And that burner phone, once you map its tower pings, moves like a shadow near Naomi's routine. Not every day, not enough to be obvious, just enough to be ready. A week after Naomi disappears, police get a tip. Not a frantic tip, not a tearful call, a controlled voice with minimal details. And when police follow it, they find the place criminals love. A space nobody checks, a space nobody owns on paper, except somebody does. Storage units, warehouses, back rooms, places where you can close a door and pretend life isn't happening behind it. I'm not going to make this graphic, but I'll tell you the investigative truth. When you hide something, you leave traces of the hiding. Locks cut and replaced, padlocks not matching facility records, sign-in logs that don't match camera footage, tire tracks, fibers, tape residue. The scene tells a story even when the people don't. The breakthrough comes from contradiction. The family says, "We barely know Naomi. We didn't interact with her." But phone records show repeated contact between family members and the forgettable sedan number. Bank records show cash withdrawals that align with those calls. And the biggest contradiction of all, one family member claims they were home all evening, but their phone places them near the medical building, within minutes of Naomi's disappearance, then traveling in the same direction as the burner phone. Digital evidence is not emotional. It doesn't care about your story. It only cares where you were. Arrests don't happen with cinematic music. They happen with paperwork. Warrants, affidavits, sworn statements. A judge signing off because the pattern is now clear enough to act on. In court, the prosecution doesn't need to prove the defendant is a monster. They need to prove a sequence. 1. Motive. 2. Planning. 3. Contact. 4. Payment. 5. Execution. 6. Cover-up. 7. Lies. And that CCTV clip, the 47 seconds, becomes the spine of the case, because it shows Naomi alive at a specific moment and gone immediately after. It anchors time, and when time is anchored, lies collapse. Now here's the part people don't expect. In cases driven by inheritance or control, the plot often assumes one thing: if we remove the obstacle, the money returns to us. But legal documents don't always work like that. Sometimes there are clauses, sometimes there are contingencies, sometimes there are protective instructions designed specifically to punish wrongdoing. Sometimes, if you commit a crime connected to the beneficiary, you don't just lose the case, you lose the money. And when that happens, the motive turns into ash. If you work in healthcare, home care, elder services, or any job where you touch someone else's paperwork, understand this: your risk is not always a stranger in a